I've made 2 Eager Edge movement guides where I covered every Eager Edge tech in the game and then updated the guide when things changed. But across Destiny 2, there are a lot more movement techs that aren't just Eager Edge specific. There are plenty of jump techs, Sparrow techs, techs that require weird geometry, additional sword techs, and more. So in this video, I'm going to go through and cover every useful movement tech in the game, which means this video will only have things that I think are genuinely worth learning, either for casually playing the game or getting better at things like speedruns and lowmans. For every movement tech I cover, if I do have a guide that goes into more detail, I will have that linked below. So if you see one you really want to learn, that way you guys have a full in-depth tutorial to learn from. And as always, if you guys do enjoy the video, dropping a like and comment helps the video out a ton. Plus, I do also stream over on Twitch if you ever want to watch live over there. I wanted to start this video off by covering some basics for each class with movement and when it comes to movements and your jumps. Really for Warlock, I think most people know how to use Burst Glide and use that to go a little bit quicker. It's also not even that effective, but more important than that, I see a lot of people still using Ick Dash wrong. So if you're using Ick Dash, you do want to combine it with Burst Glide, and the main reason for this is I see a lot of people doing just the good old jump and then Ick Dash like that, and you go pretty much nowhere. It's insanely slow. You go like 5 or 10 feet. What you should be doing is jumping, activating Burst Glide once, and then doing Ick Dash. And as you're going to see, if I do that, I go much further and much faster. When playing on Titan, I prefer Catapult Lift because you get a lot of height, but then you can also use this with a scroll wheel when playing on mouse and keyboard so that you can spam your jump 3 times over each time you hit the ground, and you can skate fast kind of like this. I know it looks pretty slow because it kind of is, but the better part is you can combine this with like an Eager Edge sword, and as you can see, I can continue that momentum very easily by turning on and off my jump. And then again, the upside to Catapult is if I need that height, I can then get that height when I need it. Lastly, for hunters, usually you're going to be rocking triple jump, but strafe jump does have some pretty cool applications too. Mainly when you're in PvP and you have like a low hanging ceiling like this, you can use the jump and spam it to get a lot of momentum really quickly and move around the map. In PvE, that is a lot less useful, but what's more useful than that is when you combine it with an Eager Edge swing like this, you can go very far forward very quickly. Pull out your sword again, you'll usually have Eager ready to go, and you can route around different maps and different lanes like that a little bit quicker in some instances than using just triple jump. Moving on with the list, we're now going over movement techs that are super easy to learn and get down, which are still surprisingly useful. Lion Rampants is our first on the list. With this, you need Lion Rampants equipped. You need to be on Titan, obviously. Using a sword, Eager Edge isn't needed, but it helps. And then you do also want Catapult Lift because this gives you the most boost in height every time you use the jump. And then all you're going to do is swing your sword, activate and deactivate your jump like this, and then keep doing that, which allows you to infinitely fly as long as you have sword ammo. You get a bit of your jump back each and every swing on Titan. You just don't want to fall too long because as you can see, when I swing right there after falling for a while, I don't actually move forward and cancel my momentum. I just continue falling down when I start my swing. And then obviously after that, you don't want to waste all your boost like this. You don't want to use it too often because once you're out, even though you can swing and get a little bit back, you're going to still not be able to continue flying around because you just used too much of your boost and you no longer get that catapult effect where you're going up. The next thing I wanted to cover is rocket jumping in Destiny 2, except in this case, it's just mountaintop jumping. As you're going to see, if I consume a Heat Rises grenade, this is going to be most effective. What I can do is just double jump to show our baseline height, which is right around here. And then instead, if I actually rocket the ground as I jump like that, I'm going to get way higher. As you can see, we're way over where we were previously, and we're now up here. The only other major thing with this is that your mobility is actually going to affect the height you're getting with Heat Rises. As a lot of people are aware, mobility and higher mobility only really affects this first jump. If I have higher mobility, it doesn't really affect the double jump. The exception to that is when you're on Heat Rises and you're doing a mountaintop jump. On higher mobility, you are going to get higher. Just to show this off, I'm now 50 mobility higher. I can consume a grenade again and then do the exact same thing, and I will get a good bit higher. As you can see, that's pretty noticeable. So this does drastically affect the height you get when actually rocket jumping. Next up, we actually have a strand grapple technique with Lumina. When you hip fire this, it sends out a slow moving Noble Seeker, which actually goes a pretty good distance. I don't think it's really worth using to go horizontally, but in certain cases you can shoot this vertically and then ascend very quickly without needing to do like a well bounce or anything like that. All you're going to need is obviously going to be Lumina, which you can hip fire to send out that Noble Seeker, and then whatever class you're playing on, you're going to want a grapple grenade. So this will work on Hunter, Warlock, and Titan. Obviously, there aren't a ton of different areas where this ends up being useful in the game. It is pretty niche, but it does have its uses. That said, just hip firing and then grappling as soon as you can feels pretty random, whether or not it actually connects to the Noble Seeker. There might be a skill gap to this or a timing that you have to hit almost perfectly that you can practice, but as of right now, it feels pretty random if I actually connect like I did right there. And then, like I said, in a lot of cases where you're going horizontally with this, you might as well just use a skate tech or a Sparrow tech like slipping or something like that. Going vertically is where it's a lot more useful, but to me, going vertically feels a lot less consistent. There, I happen to get it. I hit the skybox, but overall, I'm not sure if it's something you can really practice or if it's just a timing thing. Sparrow Flying is up next. This is one of the easiest movement techs to learn in the entire game. It's super easy to learn compared to all the other Sparrow techs, and it's also extremely useful because we can reach heights that we typically can't reach. And then also in a lot of cases, if you for some reason fall off the map and you're able to summon your Sparrow, you can fly around like this, get that height back, and save yourself. I have my inputs shown on screen so you guys can kind of follow along with that. I'm going to be going over pretty much what you do to Sparrow Fly, but if you need a full guide, that will be in the description down below, so you guys can check that out if you find that you really want to learn Sparrow Flying yourself. With this, all you're doing is summoning your Sparrow in the air and then using your destabilizers here and there to keep a rotation. After you rotate, all you're going to want to do is dodge to move your Sparrow to the side when that side is pointing up. So in this case, my right side's up, left, right, and then left. And then once again, just to show the rotation, this is about the speed you want to go at. You don't want to go super fast because it can get out of control. So that's all you're really doing. You're slowly rotating and then dodging when that side of the Sparrow is pointing up. And then if you do this properly with the right momentum, you can get a lot of height very quickly. Next up, we're going to be covering all the Eager Edge skating techs in the game. These are fantastic because they're probably amongst the most useful for casual players all the way up to end game players and in things like speedruns. They're really easy to learn in my opinion, and even if you do struggle to learn them, once you get them down, you have them down and you tend to not really make too many mistakes after that point. To do this, you will need an Eager Edge sword. Try and get one that is craftable so that you can get the enhanced version of Eager Edge, which is going to make your skates faster. And then after this, for Warlock specifically, you want to be on Well of Radiance. For this to work, there are 3 to 4 very simple steps. You do want to make sure you're by a ledge when doing this. It doesn't have to be just like a cliff type ledge. You can be on obviously like an elevated surface, something rounded like that, a box, a lot of different objects. And then all you're going to do is pull out your sword while Eager Edge is procced, which it'll stay procced for around 3 seconds. You want to heavy attack, jump, and then activate your super or place down your Well of Radiance just like that. Obviously, you're just doing it in a very short amount of time, so all strung together, it looks something like that. Once again, just to be abundantly clear, I'm going to try and slow things down so you can really see it exaggerated. All you're doing is pulling out your sword, heavy, jump, super. You can kind of see me do every animation where the jump and the super cancel out my heavy attack, and that's basically it. After that, for well skating specifically, if you do activate your burst glide or whatever jump you're using again or right after skating, instead of falling down and hitting the ground like we just did there, I'm going to start going upwards like that. Just like Warlocks, Hunters also have a method to skate, except rather than using Well of Radiance, you're just using your Shadow Dive ability on Stasis. Obviously, you still need an Eager Edge sword. Enhanced Eager once again makes this more effective, and then you do also want Stompies on. This makes your jumps way more effective and allows you to go way further when skating. Specifically within the Stasis subclass, once again, we don't need our super. All we need is the Shadow Dive aspect, which gives us a dive ability with our in-air keybind, mine set to X, and that comes back every 4 to 5 seconds after use. So you don't need to build up a super to do this. All you need is that equipped. The inputs, once again, are the exact same. You just need to be near a ledge like that. Multiple distances work. You can do it from a little further back. You can do it right on the ledge like that as well. You pull out your sword, heavy attack, and then after heavy attacking, you want to jump and then do your Shadow Dive ability. If you do this a bit quicker, you should get it to work. So you pull out your sword, heavy, jump, and then Shadow Dive. If you guys are new to skating and you're trying this for the first time, I do recommend learning on Hunter. The main reason is because if you're messing up the timing, you can start by just pressing your space and your Shadow Dive input at the exact same time after you heavy attack. This tends to be a lot more lenient on Hunter. So I'm going to press both at the same time right here. And as you're going to see, my skate goes through. It works pretty consistently unless you get those inputs pressed in the wrong order. You can press them pretty much at the exact same time, and it's super easy to learn off of. Once you guys are familiar with skating, especially on Hunter, you can go much further by using a blink swap. You can cover distances like the King's Fall jumping puzzle, which aren't typically crossable, with just your double jump stasis skate. All you're going to do is skate like normal, and then once your double jump is consumed, you use both jump inputs, you're going to swap to Arc Strider, which needs to have blink equipped, because blink is going to give you 2 new jumps, which are going to automatically regenerate without ever needing to touch the ground. For this jump in particular, off the first ship, I like to wait till the ship is almost like fully deconstructed, then sprint and skate like that. And then you can time your jump inputs, immediately swap over to blink, look up, and then blink the rest of the way there, and then swing over. Just like for Hunters, if you want to cross a larger distance when on Warlock, you can also use Heat Rises in combination with any grenade that typically has a shorter cooldown, because you can pop this, stay floating, and go a lot further. There's a route that you can take using this platform and then skating over to the end. Without Heat Rises, if I try and make this with a normal well skate, you're going to see, even if I throw in like an ick dash and then jump like this, my jump's going to cut off and I won't ever be able to make this without using Heat Rises. Then if I do use Heat Rises, I can skate like this, consume my grenade after skating, double ick dash to go further, and then quickly spam my jump like that to be able to mantle. And then you can do another skate like this, and use this route to get all the way across, when again, you're not able to do that covering nearly the same amount of distance or have as many ick dashes when doing it without Heat Rises. Lastly, the final thing you can do while well skating is utilize what's called a well bounce, where you're skating into an object, hitting it, and then going from a horizontal velocity up to vertically so that you can clear objects, get over barriers, or just reach new heights that you previously couldn't reach with other movement techs. You want like a 30 to 60 degree angle for the object that you're bouncing off of. Certain things are naturally going to work better than others. And then after that, you are going to want Heat Rises so that once you bounce, you can contain that momentum and keep it going upwards to get even higher. And then you obviously want ick dash for a lot of cases, because that allows you to better convert your momentum from horizontal to vertical. So in this case, I'm going to pop Heat Rises, skate into this, I'm going to ick dash, and then immediately reactivate my jump so that I can use Heat Rises to get over this barrier right here. And then I'm pretty much done. This works in a lot of different cases and a lot of different areas to get over things. Next up, I wanted to go over fake skating. I think this is decently hard to learn. It requires a good amount of muscle memory. I'm doing it right here, where I'm basically staying in third person the entire time. And it's pretty much the most optimal way that you can spam swing your sword and move around a map without using something like eager edge or skating. The steps to doing this are actually pretty simple. When you swing your sword like this, if you keep your sword out, it'll stop your momentum towards the end of the swing. So as most people know, you can now do that and then swap to another weapon and go a little bit further. You can then combine this with a burst glide jump like that to push yourself even further. And then one step past that, you can cut off your burst glide to kind of give yourself like a hop type jump like that. So all in all, you're swinging, swapping, double tapping your jump to burst really quickly. And then at the end of that, you're just pulling your sword back out and repeating that process. So once again, I'm pulling my sword out at the end of that process, and that's it. Usually when I fake skate, I do use mouse buttons that I have that I find easier to fake skate with and just play the game with. But just to show you guys, so you can see the keybinds on screen now with the keyboard, 4 is how I swap to my heavy, and energy is on 3. So with that, the pattern looks something like this. You don't need to rush your keybinds or your inputs. There's a nice rhythm to it. You just have to get that down and get that muscle memory. Lastly, we're ending the video off with the super advanced movement techs. These are all going to be revolving around using your Sparrow. The reason I think these are much harder is because it takes a lot of time to learn. You need to get the muscle memory down, practice a lot to perfect it as well. It's not something that you can brute force and learn really quickly like well skating. First up, we are going over slipstreaming or infinite slipstreaming, which allows you to basically fly like Sparrow Flying, but rather than just going up, you can go forward with it. I do have a full guide linked below if you guys want to actually learn in full detail. But with this, we're basically just combining a backflip or backwards rotation with a sidewards rotation. And then anytime that my Sparrow is oriented so that it is upside down to the left, like right now, or right now, that is when we're actually using that dodge input to propel ourselves forward. You can fly and cross a lot of large gaps just like this. Anytime you're in activity with a Sparrow, this is super useful. Also, if you don't have something to like run off of, like a runway or a ledge, you can always jump in the air, summon your Sparrow, and kind of corkscrew yourself like I am right here into that slipping rotation so that you can go from like a standstill or just jumping up anywhere with your Sparrow to actually getting some distance just like that. And then finally, to end the video off, we're able to combine two of the best movement techs in the game, which are going to be slipstreaming and then eager edge skating, whether you're on Warlock or Hunter, which is known as a Slipskate. Slipstreaming is actually pretty straightforward and consistent to do. You just need to know how to slip and then obviously skate consistently. All you want to do is summon your Sparrow whenever you're holding your sword, because when you dismount, you'll pop off with your sword and eager edge procced. And then after that, it's as simple as doing your slip inputs, doing a proper dismount, and then skating once you land on your Sparrow. If you do it correctly, you can get a lot of speed very quickly. You can combine the momentum of your slip with a skate to go really fast, really far. I think a lot of people are under the assumption that slip skating isn't really worth learning and you can't really use it anywhere, but I think there's already quite a few practical applications for it. You can do it on Hunter like I am here, and then we can also combine our regular skate with like a blink swap like this, and you can quickly land yourself at the 6th bubble in DSC, which is really useful for speedruns and things like that. You can even hit a 1-7 with this. I've seen other runs use slip skating consistently as well. I think it's a really good movement tech. It's pretty easy to learn. I feel like if I can do it, most other people can too. That is it for the video, guys. Let me know which of these movement techs you already know how to do, which you're learning, and which ones you didn't even know existed. I did also leave ground skating off the list. I don't think it's that useful for the risk to reward it can offer. Plus, in most areas, you can just skate normally. Once again, I do stream a bunch over on my Twitch. As always, have a good one, guys. Peace.